Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Hippie Dippy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Cassidy Bowker.
And I'm another one of your hosts, Bo Bowker.
And I'm Jeffrey J.
Thank you so much for joining in and listening this week. We have an exciting and interesting topic. Our theme and intention is passion,
Ooh.
like passion parties. Not that kind of passion.
Oh, God.
Passion parties are, uh, I can't believe they're still around. Who told me that they're still around? Is it you?
Cassidy,
I just got
why are you
invited
talking
to.
about them so much? What? You got invited?
Yeah, it's girls. It's women hosting women. It's not like it's like a orgy, you guys. Come on.
Yeah. It's giving you the tools to have an orgy at home with your husband.
And
I,
now you know who you can invite.
Yeah.
what do you mean? Oh, to the orgy?
Yeah.
I think they call those party clam bakes. Um,
I have no idea.
you got invited? So this is a
Yeah.
party where people have a bunch of sex toys and they try to sell it's like a pyramid scheme built on dildos
Yeah.
and
It's like Tupperware but for dongs. It's like a
oh,
Tupperware party for dongs.
for imitation dongs.
Mm-hmm.
None of that real stuff.
But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know who really uses imitation dongs. I think people just like vibrators and fun stuff like that. But anyways, this is not what we're talking about today. Different kind of passion.
I love that we're like, you know what we need to do? We need to set up the topic and that top of it, and then we come up with this totally fake not this is not going to be the topic. People are like, this whole episode is going to be this.
No, we're talking about passion, like your life's passion, like
Yeah.
what you feel you're called to do. What makes you feel on purpose? What do you think your purpose is here in life? Not some of this perv stuff.
Well,
Yep.
like passion parties,
Here we
maybe that's
go.
your passion in life. You are, you know, in the pleasure department and
Yeah.
you're important. I just want to make that very clear.
You're important?
Yes.
Who's
Everybody
important?
has a job, everybody has a role
Yeah.
here.
Dong slangers?
Yeah.
How many dong slangers do you think are tuning in?
Yeah.
They have us up on the screen on the TV in the
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, this guy
know,
just
Pleasant
listening.
Island.
Yeah. There's a guy listening to us in his headphones and his name tag says Kyle, Pleasure Department.
He works at Amazon. He's
That's
Ah,
a
just seeing arms folded, and there's a bunch of cargo filled with fleshlights and lube.
their top selling product is sex
I'm in the
toys.
pleasure
Yeah.
department.
I love it. I think passion's a great topic because I think that we spend a lot of our lives not knowing what it is, I think. And that's really hard. And
Totally.
at those moments when you feel lost, and then the moments when you find it, or the moments that you have those temporary passions or just obsessions.
Right.
mm,
Or things like I remember so many conversations with people, especially like a little bit after I got out of college, and I realized that like a lot of expectations and your major and things like that were all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like yeah, people that were like I feel like I'm supposed to do this. There's a lot of supposed to, like, oh, I'm supposed to do this, my family wants me to do this, like my dad's always told me to do this, and it's like, well, maybe they're onto something, but you don't sound like they were, so there's there's that point in life where there's a lot of like, what am I supposed to do? And yeah, it's just it's a weird thing, and there's no class, there's nothing that really, especially at like those ages of like high school through college or your early 20s, whatever you're doing during that time, that like pushes you in that direction or helps you find that sort of divining rod, which is also one of the products at a passion party.
The divining rod. Oh, he helps you find out where it's wet.
What?
That was a Bo joke that just channeled through me.
Bo loves those jokes.
What are you talking about? Gross.
I know. I can't believe that just came out of me.
Oh my God.
Oof, which is another thing they say at passion parties.
Oh my God. Okay. So there's a lot of pressure. Around passion. No, but there is. So you graduate high school, you're 18-ish, and then you're supposed to know.
Right.
And that's brutal. What's that do to who you are? And I know I can speak to my own experience of I just wanted to prove my worth. Like I wanted to prove to my dad that I could do, that I could achieve, that I was, this good girl or this, I don't know, smart, successful young woman. And so, so I applied for colleges and got into a great one. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had one roommate who said, I'm majoring in business and I'm minoring in Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, and I'm going to take over the business world. And you know what he does now? He owns, I think he owns a gym and he's a personal trainer, and he totally changed everything and studied kinesiology, and he's brilliant and successful, definitely. But I mean, please, how are you supposed to know what you want to do, your life's gift, your purpose? We don't have any classes like that. We did a really awesome program with our coach, Reverend Cassidy, and it was called Discovering Your Sacred Gifts, and it was huge. Cool. So to even just understand each other in relationship, right, and to see what is it that we are bringing to this relationship.
Because it was about it was a lot of questions and listening to different MP3s about what these different categories are, and kind of and answering questions and taking surveys. It's almost like an aptitude test, but kind of for your innate and natural gifts, your sort of God-given or spirit-led gifts. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, really powerful.
So, for example, you can better navigate and hold space for, relationships that you have. Like, one example is my grandma. Okay, my grandma, when she comes here, is she 80? She's almost 80, something like that. And she just wants to work. She's grabbing the broom, trying to sweep, trying to clean, taking out the trash, walking all the way down to the dumpsters, doing all these things. And I'm like, Grandma, please sit down. And in my mind, I'm thinking, she's not supposed to be doing this. She's elderly. She needs to be resting. But one of her sacred gifts, oh God, I forget what it's called. It's something
sweeping.
No. Something like caregiving or caretaking, I don't know, something like that. So now that I know, and I've taken, this program and been able to identify, oh, this gift, this is, that one actually was me too. But this is my grandma, and now I can better hold space for her. So when she arrives, instead of me being so stressed out, right, because it affects our time together, because I'm so wrapped up and worried about grandma and trying to control her, I allow. So I think of things that are not strenuous. Instead of collecting all the trash around the apartment and all the bathrooms and lugging it down, I say, okay, Grandma, I know that you want to help, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here and extending your help. Would you come and sit with me on the couch and we can fold the baby's laundry together?
Beautiful.
Boom, she's empowered.
Yeah.
She immediately is thrilled because that's what she wants to do. She's a caregiver. She wants to give. She wants to nurture in that way.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think
beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is, and yeah, exactly. It helps you sort of, hold space for others, and knowing. I think one of the biggest things we can do is figure out what we're called towards. And like, and so I don't know, I wanted to ask you guys, what, so Jeffrey, what do you
Mm,
feel like you're called towards? Like whether it be like something within you, like, oh, I want to, like, this is part of me and I want to express this, or like a specific job, or, you know what I mean? Or like career sort of thing. Like,
Yeah. It's interesting because there are two different things that I'm being pulled towards right now, and I don't think they conflict, which is beautiful because I think a lot of times in your life you're told pick something or
right.
what you can't do it all. Or for
Yeah.
a long time in my life I was told, well, you can't be trans and work with kids.
Oh
You
my
you
gosh.
got to choose what
wow.
matters to you most. And that's a heartbreaking decision
What?
because, well,
Yeah.
think about it, and especially in Texas. When I was in Texas
Mm,
and I was trans and I was hiding it, um, I was told, nope. First of all, nobody knew I was trans. They told me as I was working in this kid's gym that I needed to tone down the gay because I was going to scare the dads.
Jeez
And I was
Louise.
just a guy in their eyes
Yeah.
working with kids, and they were scared I was too gay acting to be around these children if the dads were in the room.
Jeez Louise.
So that's too far. Imagine a trans person watching your kids.
Right.
What's wrong with them?
Mm.
They're, there's something deeply wrong with them. A Christian, I mean, Catholic area, oof. But anyways, that's something where it's like over time, especially also when you're younger, they tell you you got to choose your thing. You can't spread yourself too thin. You got to
Right.
pick what your thing is and go for it.
Right.
Anyways, the point is that I've learned I can do everything. And now not everything, but you don't have to choose. I
Right.
can write seriously about my past and my addictions and everything, which is one thing I'm being called towards in my writing now. I'm writing about my past experiences.
ooh, that gave me
What?
chills, chills to my arms. And so I've noticed every day that chills to my arms is for that person. Like, please do that. Go with it.
It's
Cool.
been so cool because I kept sitting down to write comedy, write comedy, write comedy, and it's been like nothing, 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 nothing. And all of a sudden, I came to the idea that I started writing about the experiences that no longer, they're not raw anymore, and I can write about them honestly, and
Mm,
I can write about them also with an air of comedy that makes them accessible and easy to swallow and take the most depressing situations, which I have had so many of those in my lifetime in in a world of intense alcoholism, where there were moments of extreme hopelessness, and turn it on its head and give it that light you need to be able to read it and relate, etc. And then the other thing is just working with kids. And those two things right now, I've got my writing moments in the day where I'm doing that, and I love it and I'm passionate about it, and then my time working with kids. Those are the two things that are like
mm,
I got a beautiful why.
That's
mm.
cool.
So that's
And
what I'm
one
called
day
towards. Yeah.
it may converge where you're able to work with drunk kids.
I I'm working on it's not their fault their uncle gave them a sip.
Hey,
Is that their fault, Cassidy? It's their fault that they keep asking for more.
they've got a problem, okay?
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's where Jeff comes in.
Maybe if you didn't have so many white Russians when you were breastfeeding. I think they just come out white Russians. It doesn't matter what you drink. Those babies are. Sorry, guys. You started with passion parties.
What?
You opened this episode with passion parties, and now we're on a weird sexual
I,
wavelength.
I I love that, Jeffrey. I think that's so awesome, dude. And yeah, that's what it's about, is like not limiting yourself and opening yourself up to the possibilities. You know, I think the common theme in everything we talk about on the show, I think, is like opening yourself up, removing the blocks. Like the more you remove the blocks, which can look like family pressure, which, you know, again, Reverend Kathy Silva, check her out, you guys. She's I'm working with her on the inner child, as I've talked about in recent weeks, and it's so powerful. And so it's about like removing the blocks and removing, like, understanding that, like, you might start with actual critical parents, right? And we pick things up that maybe the parents didn't even mean to be critical. And then you grow up, you move out, and now that critical parent is in your head.
Oh yeah, forever.
And it's not even necessarily their voice. It just becomes the voice of your ego, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so you keep that with you. And so it's about ultimately removing that block. And don't worry about getting mad at your parents or whatever, because guess what? You're going to do the same thing to your kids, whether you try, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
Because that's the circle of life, and
Yeah.
like part of what we're all here to get over stuff
Yeah.
and things karmically. And so, but the point is, like, removing these blocks, your inner critic, and letting go of that, not judging it, but just hearing it and letting it go. Oh, wait, I felt like this. Oh, that's my ego / needy inner child saying that I'm not enough, that I need to do more. And then I just recognize that, and I say, oh no, I don't need to do more. I simply am. I just am, and I'm love, and I'm not separate from anything. And so, yeah, what I think that's so beautiful. And what's yours, Cass? What would you say for you, like your passion? Because you've had an interesting journey as well.
Well,
from one thing to the other.
First, I just sort of want to touch on what you shared, Jeffrey J. And you didn't just share your passion;
Right.
You were really vulnerable and authentic and transparent, and shared some of the limiting belief systems that you encountered. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It's important from the sense of healing your own experiences, right? Healing yourself within. But also, it's important to be so transparent like that, because there are other people in the world who are on maybe similar paths. And that, number one, allows them to fully be themselves. And number two, we tend to compare, and that comparison sometimes triggers a lesser than mentality or a hierarchy, right? And we think that this person who's very successful in doing these things, for example, I could look at you and be like, man, Jeffrey J has it all figured out. He has his children's show. He's amazing. He's got it all. He doesn't have these same thoughts that I have. He didn't experience someone telling him this, that, and the other thing. And so, I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that. So I think sharing all aspects of your experience is so important. And I just really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So what's my passion? Well, it took me it took me a long time to figure that out. It really did. And so like I was sharing, right? I went to college because I thought I should, and because I thought it would mean something to someone. And it didn't really mean something to me in that point, which is why I dropped out. And so, I signed up. I was going to do international business and with French, because I took French all with the emphasis in French, right? Because I want to learn the French language. I took it all high school. And that's what I was going to do. Please.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, where am I practicing my French? Hardly anybody's speaking French out here.
Yeah. What are the French manufacturing who we need shipped over?
It's really quite comical to me. What in the world was I thinking? I was just doing whatever someone told me to do.
You were just doing.
I was just doing that.
Being, which is like my point. You know what I mean? Like when we tap into, because what I really want to get to here too is how because I think this will be even more helpful to, or also helpful to the listeners and viewers, which is like, how do you know that what you're doing is for you, and how did you get there, you know? And I think that touches on a great thing, like when you're just going and just keep going, and I got to do something, like, because I did that, and we'll get into that in a second too after Cassidy gets to finish, but instead of just feeling and going inward and being intuitive and like giving it some thought, but not like thought with your ego and your mind, but more with your heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even that takes time to figure out, which
Totally.
voice is which, and,
Totally.
and do I listen to this or this? Anyways.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of failing, to be quite honest. I failed. I dropped out, right, of Cal State Fullerton, and moved back in with my parents for a period of time. I started working, and here's the thing: I love working. I love working because I love doing things, and yeah, I think maybe perhaps there was a part of me that was working so much to like fill a void because I didn't quite know what my passion was yet. And I worked hard, but I played really hard, and I still compared myself to everyone else around me.
Yeah.
I played really hard. Passion party.
You know.
White Russian.
First of all, I don't even like White Russians. That's not my drink.
Oh my God, I did not.
Oh.
Me too.
Yeah.
You really put a pregnant pause in between white and whatever word was coming next.
I did? Oh. For the record, I hardly drink ever anymore. Not into it. But
Yeah.
if you're curious, fun fact, my favorite drink is vodka with soda water and lemon. Love it.
Ooh.
Very refreshing.
Yeah. You know that's the drink, vodka and soda water is the second to last drink you hit before you're a real alcoholic.
Oh!
Is that true?
Yeah, because you start getting to the point to where it's like, okay, well, I'm drinking so much. This is a very well-known thing that people talk about, is that when you're doing vodka soda, the next step is vodka water, and the last step is just vodka.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
So at a point in my life, vodka soda was my favorite too.
Oh, boy.
You're not there though. You and Bo drink the most hilariously like simple. You're like, I'll just have one of these so I can taste every section of it, and I'll drink it for an hour and a half. It makes no sense. It's not even worth the calories at that point.
Anyways, took a lot of failure, and and I still was lost. I was quite lost, and it wasn't until my grandfather was really very sick, and I was in and out, of the hospital visiting him, and really involved in his plan of care, when I had an epiphany driving to see him one day that I, wanted to be a nurse, and I loved caregiving. And it makes perfect sense. This is my lineage. I come from a lineage of caregivers. Also, my Filipino roots, right? Filipinos women are known caregivers. So, in that epiphany of wanting to become a caregiver, I ventured into nursing. So once I found nursing, I was in healing. And once I'm involved in healing, I'm seeing what resonates and what doesn't resonate. What didn't resonate for me was all of just this push of medicine that was also prescription medicine that was hurting people and harming people at the same time, right? And this was all like a Band-Aid, and it wasn't getting to the root of the problem. And so had babies, thank God. This was a divine pause, and also opportunity for my own deeper healing. And then I, fell in love with yoga and listened to all those calls. And then from yoga, it just kind of all, boom, exploded into breath work and cacao and all kinds of stuff. And now here I am. But that took so much time. That wasn't until I didn't start nursing school until I was 24. And then I finished when we started dating, 25.
Mm-hmm.
I think I, was wrapping it up, and then took my tests early, shortly thereafter. And then, yeah, now here we are, and I've turned 30. So it was in this window of time that's 6 years of figuring out to the point where I am today, where I am on effing fire with passion. So clear.
Yeah.
It wasn't I turned 18 and I went to college and signed myself up, and I just figured it all out. It takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you too about this topic too, because like you guys are in your passions right now and on purpose, you know what I mean? And so it's so awesome to witness, and I think so important for people to understand like the process and the listening and the patience, a couple things, yes, I know what you're saying. Like 6 years sounds kind of like a long time. But like once you did start to listen, like intuitively, to the universe or spirit or whatever you want to call it, or your heart, whatever you want to call it, things really have picked up a lot of steam. You know what I mean? Like your stuff is really snowballed, especially in your field, because once you open up, like, and get into that heart space and like get on that frequency of being spirit led, and being heart led, and divinely guided, and seeing the signs of the universe and all that sort of stuff that we've talked about recently, that, hey, it's all there, it's all coming to you all the time. You just have to tune into it. It really has just taken off and grown exponentially. And like, I mean, because for example, with your like online offerings with the breath work and the cacao and the workshops and the yoga and everything, like you started that like 3 months ago, and now like it's like a weekly thing, and you got people lining up and classes filling up, and like the money's rolling in. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing to witness, and same for you, Jeffrey, where like you are tuning in, you have been for a long time tuning in. And I mean, talk about removing blocks and clearing space and clearing energy. I mean, you got sober, and holy God. And I've always known about you, and I've said this on the podcast, and I said it for years, like you are one of the like most powerful manifestors like I've ever witnessed. And you were, even when you were drinking. Yeah. And I was like, and I always said, like, God, when Jeffrey J puts this behind him, it's going to explode. And that's what's happening. Like, and so I guess, I'm not saying like, look, all you have to do, guys, is be perfect and heal yourself 100%, and then you will be finding true love and your passion in life. Not at all. It's one thing at a time. It's one piece at a time. It's one day of being grounded and looking around and feeling inward and listening. You know?
And I want to hear part of your journey too, because I think because there is a massive, like, and I wanted to bring up the TED Talk that I had heard that just put everything together for me. But I don't know if you want to share some of your journey and everything, Bo, because I think we all have a very similar way to have gotten our passion, and I think it's also very calming when it's put this way. So let's hear about you.
So my story really picks up right after I graduated college. Well, just to give you an insight as to my college life, and finding your passion, I was a communication studies major.
Mm.
And I chose that because when you are 18 and you go to orientation day or whatever it was, um, I didn't know this, but they just lead you out into a courtyard and they say, all right, pick your major. And I was like, huh? Who do I talk to? And they're like, nobody. Like, just put your name on a piece of paper. And so I looked at the requirements. Boom, communication studies, lowest math requirement. That's how I chose that course.
That's how you should choose it, though. The other stuff is bullshit. Honestly, just tell me how much math I need to do,
Exactly.
and that's how I'll choose it.
I did.
Yeah, I would be a Cantonese major if it took zero math.
So funny.
And so anyway, so then I had a blast in college. So many White Russians.
Yeah.
And the drinks were good too. So
I don't understand that joke.
I know you
Okay.
don't. I love that.
This is why you're so funny. This is what I was touching on before the podcast. This is why you're so funny. Because even when we know things are true, you spell it out, Cassidy, in a way that makes me laugh to the deepest part of my core. Your innocence is the most purest sense of funny.
So I got out of college and like midway through senior year, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna end. Like college is ending. What am I gonna do? I had not given any thought. I was very present.
Yeah.
And I'd given no thought to this. And I was like starting to panic and freak out. I got out of college, worked for my family business, which I didn't want to do. And was told like, don't do this. You don't want to be in our family's business. It's bad.
It's not a bad business.
Everybody told me that.
I think maybe people didn't want you to get stuck there, or they saw something, outside of it.
Yeah, nobody wanted me to be part of it. Well, yeah. It's not the mafia. And so then I was like, I'll go to law school. So I went to law school. And also part of that whole feeling of that need to get your life in order, I got engaged to just anybody. I'd been with this girl for like a year or something, or a year and a half, and was like, let's do this. Like, let's get engaged, and I'm going to law school, and let's go. And well, there you go. Now I figured it all out. 6 months later, I was failing law school after being an excellent student, like a very good, like B+, A- student my whole life.
That's great. Yeah.
Thanks. And then first semester ended, and I had a 1.6 GPA.
Wow.
In law school, and my fiance's reaction was, well, now what are you gonna do? And that was not what I was looking for in that moment. That conversation and everything that was going on ultimately led to completely failing out of law school, because I got probation. I had one more semester to bring it up, and it did not go well. I did slightly better, but I was a worse student in a lot of ways. Yeah. And my engagement ended, and that was so surreal in that most people, I think, would, and everybody from the outside looking in was like, oh God, your life is falling apart, and what are you doing? And I felt like, shouldn't I be upset or freaked out? And I felt so good. Yeah. I felt so free, because I was like, oh my God, I thought I had my entire life figured out. And 6 months ago, I was going to be married and a lawyer. And now I have no idea what I'm going to be. And I had a little bit of an idea. And this person that I loved very much was that I thought was the right person for me wasn't. And so someone else is even better out there for me. Like I knew that there was something even better than this, and that was really great for most of it.
Yeah.
You knew all, like you
I
had
knew
that
all
awareness.
I had all that awareness.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a really big, huge, beautiful thing.
It was, and like
how did you have that awareness? Because that is the way that you were raised, because your mom and you went to Center for Spiritual Living, like
that was certainly part of it, but it was just this sense of like, I think because I tried to shoehorn myself into a life that sounded good and looked good on paper and was aesthetically pleasing to others, and didn't stop, again, going so fast and doing so much, like Cass says about her working so much. She really didn't give herself time to slow down and think and feel, you know? And when we avoid that, we avoid the opportunity to hear something different, or to hear, hey, I don't think you're doing this in an inspired way. And so I was just going at that point. And then when everything fell apart and I was like, oh my God, well, this, like, it was like my claustrophobia was like all this pressure. It was relieved. Like I stepped outside and was like, oh, look at this beautiful world. And you know, and that's the other thing that's good to touch on too. What?
I thought you were gonna say you stepped outside and you're like, oh, look at this beautiful white Russian.
Yeah. So
I had to.
Thank you. So I had I have no idea what I was gonna say. No, okay, that's what it was. It's that there's something great to it's okay to do something and it not be the thing for you, you know. There is, like, I understand, like, and Jeff's totally right, like, we don't want to get into that mode of like, well, just pick something. But and you're right, but there's also like, don't put too much pressure on the moment of, oh God, I gotta pick the right thing, you know, because that is a different version of that, you know what I mean, where it's like, don't just pick something because you feel you have to, but then also don't be afraid to just pick something.
Yeah.
You know?
So that is part of the point, because you in college, you had to pick something.
Right.
You had to start. You just also had plenty of time to change it.
Right.
But
like,
that's stupid. Why do you have to pick something? What is the point of that? I
don't
understand why you have to, you know, you're gonna spend those first 2 years, you have to do all of those whatever classes.
Well, is it a bad thing though? Because there is something to be said for trying something that you think you might love and seeing if you fall in love with it, or knowing that by picking that, it's something you hate, and then figuring out you need to go the complete opposite way.
And that's what happened for me.
Yeah. And I think, and the thing that I've come to with the TED Talk is that I think is important. And her thing was all about passion. I'll get into that later. But the thing that I came up with, because I have done so many different things, my mother, I will tell you this, that I dropped out of college 7 times, by the way. I never failed out, but I had all A's and B's. So I just went back through my old transcripts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just went back through my old transcripts because I'm re-enrolling in college, by the way. That is the thing.
Hey!
Oh,
Yeah.
I would like to do that, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. And I decided it recently, and etc. So all my desk back there is covered with transcripts, all A's and B's, blah, blah, blah. Point is, I dropped out of 7 colleges and have had so many different jobs over the years. Then when I came out as transgender, my mom was like, "Are you sure this is going to stick?"
God.
Oh,
That's
wow.
great.
And it was a valid point.
Yeah.
When your son has gone to daughter has gone through
At the time.
millions of jobs and passions and all sorts of things. How do you know that the fact they want to be a dude now is gonna stick? Like, was her biggest fear. And luckily, this is the one that stuck so far. At least the
So far.
longest. This is the yeah. Who knows? But my thing is, so this TED Talk said that what passion is it's when all of your life experiences. I'll find the TED Talk and figure out a way to post it on something because I'm boiling this TED Talk down. But it's when all of your life experiences come
Mm,
together to be something that you love so much that you weirdly and uniquely have the skills as well as the excitement
wow.
to do it. So what I came up with is I think I I think it's awesome if you're one of those weirdos who knew what they wanted to do when they were 5 and you stuck with it forever, but I think the best thing you can do in your life is get lost and have a million different experiences because my work in sales, teaching swim lessons to kids when I was a kid, the
Yeah.
fact that I had a business mentor because I was going to be an economics major, the fact that I did stand up later, they all came together later on to be why is this person a weirdly perfect children's host?
Yeah.
Mm.
Because of the millions of times I got lost in my life and
Wow.
super into something that put together this human. Why is Cassidy doing what she's doing? Because she thought she wanted to be a nurse. But it was health, and so she got this basis in health. And then she thought it was just yoga. But that's way too limiting for you. You could never do one thing. It
Right.
doesn't make sense. There are some people who can, but that's not you. You're too well rounded and too just all encompassing. Then your trips for cacao and etc. and etc. and you're still expanding it. It's coming together to be this person who can help people spiritually in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And that I loved what she said when she had said that's what passion was because it even if it's not true, the comfort you feel knowing that all those fuck ups
Yeah.
were for a reason later on.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and that was my thing. Like part of my thing with law school was like, I guess this is a little bit different than what you're saying, but like going and doing something I hated every day. Like the first day I sat down in law school, I looked around and I knew it was another innate feeling of like, oh my God, I don't belong here. I knew on day one. And so that's when I started writing comedy, like really writing comedy. Like every day I would sit in there, barely listen. Once I lost what they were talking about, I tuned out and started reading about my favorite comedians and reading quotes from them on IMDb and writing down different ideas for sketches and for stand up. And yeah, and so when I failed out, I knew what I did want to do. And yeah, and it is too, it's this I had been told my whole life, you should be a comedian. Other kids would be, you should be a comedian. I remembered like, and I didn't always think about this. I didn't remember till later in life. When I was 4 years old, my grandmother, I could see her and where we were in her house perfectly, and her saying, you're going to be a comedian. You're going to be a comedian. And like, and so those are the things too, where it's like those signs were always there. You know what I mean? And I don't even think, as I think we know, like my end game at this point isn't comedian, but like Jeffrey's saying, it's part of everything that I've done and everything that I'm doing and gearing towards.
It helps right now with the fact that we have a podcast that's making hippy dippy ideas accessible to people who don't give two shits who might not have given any shits about it before
Right. Yeah.
or who feel alienated for liking stuff. It's the thing that makes this fun. It's the reason that people listen every week.
Yep.
Well, can I add something?
You may.
So I think when we were dating, you were explaining like your passion in comedy and writing all this stuff, specifically comedic aspects, right? And you were saying that you wanted to heal the world with laughter because when you're laughing, you're your most perfect self. That was your thing. You want to heal the world with laughter because, and this was about authenticity. And so in that realm, you figured out who you are and you became liberated in the sense of, it's hard to stand up in front of people and talk and be silly and goofy and natural and playful. And now you're, shifting more into the world of spirituality and healing as well too. But that aspect of improvisation and creativity and inspiration is huge. Um, yeah, so I feel like those sprinklings have always been there, right? You receive so many signs, and likewise, I have a question for you, Jeffrey J. After I say this quickly, I was catching up with one of my first best friends when at a point in life when we had moved, and she was talking to me, and she said, that she's like, how did you get into all of this stuff? And she's like, well, I think you've always been like this though. And I kind of had this moment of, well, what do you mean? And I felt that, but I never really had someone see that or express to me that they saw that, right? And so she said, you've always, been like that. And I was just looking through a box of old stuff and I found your oracle cards, and you used to read me, your angel cards. And I, didn't remember that until she shared that memory with me. And then it started coming back more. And
that was from when you were in like middle school or high school, right?
Yeah. And, it really goes back. Like, I really, thank my own mom for who I am today, because she introduced me to meditation and to angels and oracle cards and all of those things, and spirituality and prayer as a little girl. And my grandma, and the tarot cards and her superstitions and ways of the Filipino tradition. And so that was all, part of me. So there were signs along the way, even when I left high school and moved out for college and went to Cal State Fullerton and was going to school for business. I was living with 1, 2, 3, 4 of my best guy friends. No, of my best guy friends, and in a 1-bedroom apartment. But these guys, my guys, they were so spiritual, and they were always playing music. They were musicians. We were reading brilliant books and having amazing discussion, smoking a lot of pot, but also, diving deep into really cool things. And I remember we would sit for hours and read things like the Book of If, and it gives you these if questions, what if you're in this situation? And I don't know, there was sprinklings of that, right? Of that spirituality as a path. And interesting who I was, drawn to. So my question for you, Jeffrey J, is were there sprinklings of that throughout your life of where and who you are here and now today, and discovering your passion and your purpose? I know that you said that you had like jobs that, all kind of made sense, but did people affirm things to you, or can you see that in your friendships? Or
Yeah, well, and first of all, like middle school is like the cruelest time. I went to school dressed as Mary Catherine Gallagher, who is Superstar. Molly Shannon, she did the character Superstar, the SNL character. I went to middle school dressed as her for Halloween when everyone else was being cute girls or whatever.
Right.
That was me. I was SNL 100%, screw the like no embarrassment type thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously you go in and out of embarrassment throughout school, and things affect you, etc. But yeah, I was also the person that if something had to be done on stage, I was doing it. If there was something that needed a speech, as that was me. It was something where I did not have a fear of the stage. I ran for
Mm.
presidents of every club,
Oh.
just because I liked giving speeches, I think.
Cool.
So yeah, so I think that was something that was always there. I also won most comedic in my high school for the.
Ooh.
I
Nice.
know, isn't that a weird, crazy thing
Yeah, that's awesome.
to have won that and then later on actually become a comedian
Right. Yeah.
and not homeless. Which is, I feel like what happens to most of the people who it's most comedic, they give it to like the shitty funny guy who never leaves the city.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so too. And I also think that you have to leave your passion for a long time to
Mm.
find it again. And I think that's important when you are one track minded. God, even if you do what you love nonstop, I feel like the experiences that you don't get are it's sad.
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
you, Bo, too, I think, honestly, you needed some shit to happen in your life because I know you had some loss of, family members and things, but you also have to have bad things happen to you to have comedy material.
Oh,
And
totally.
you're, you know, middle to well-off white guy. What do you even have to say if you don't screw up college and have a failed marriage?
Totally.
Yeah, and I mean that in the most genuine way.
Totally. Yeah, no, you're right. And because I am sort of also now moving into like coaching and healing work and things like that, like I think you need adversity and you need things for the spirit to be challenged by, and to be able to overcome and be tested. And yeah, and so I definitely think that adversity in that way and more breadth of life experiences and emotional experiences is really important. That's
Mm.
why, like, I totally agree. Like, get lost, like get into you know get into jobs and things like that, or relationships, like, not that like you go.
Not if you're married or anything.
No, no, please God.
Don't
Um,
figure
and
that out first.
right, yes, and
Hey, sometimes you don't figure it out until you're in it. Not talking about me.
Wow, just saying.
Speak to everyone, right? I want to speak to the audience. Like sometimes you figure that out when you're in it. Some people don't
right,
that you experienced, and that's okay. That's
yeah,
okay. I could speak more to relationship, and I really truly believe, like even in the work that we've done with Reverend Kathy, that yes, it takes two to tango. There has to be willingness there, but I really truly believe that you can heal any relationship if both people are willing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is that both people need to be willing, and if the other one is not, then I think you got a bigger problem there.
Yeah, but
yeah,
Um, And then, so I wanted to say two things real quick. One is that I think the hardest part in your life is whenever you are lost in your passion. And I have been there many, many times
right,
where you're at that point where um, you just don't know. And you don't even know where to begin to try and find that passion.
yeah,
And there are a couple tools. One, I've said it a million times. I'll always say it. I'll keep saying it. The artist way. It
mm,
is about two things. It's about unblocking yourself creatively, A, and B, uncovering what your passion is. Those are the two things, and I've done it every time I was lost. I've done it, and I've figured out what I wanted to do at that moment. And it usually takes a couple weeks, but it would help me get to the two passions that I've just told you about. That was the artist way. Going back to college was the artist way. I mean, everything major I've done was because I get a couple weeks into this book and I start digging into what it is, and then you start doing it on the side. And if you think you might have a passion, do it on the side. You don't have to quit your job. Spend your time reading about it. If it's making a show, do a crappy version of it on YouTube. Do
Mhm.
whatever it is just to play around with the idea and see if it fuels the flame. You know, maybe go take a mini class on it, and just see. Sometimes we get so scared we don't take the baby step.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find the baby step and see if it's something silly you can do and still do your full time job until you make enough money to quit or whatever the heck.
Yeah. And that's great. And another thing too is um, from David Elliott's book, The Reluctant Healer. One of the like the very first exercise that he has you do is kind of take stock of major life events, big things that were influential for you in your life. And, I would also add in there, like, look at that and what are the themes that develop? Like, what were you drawn to? Or what did you think was right for you and wasn't? Because I've got those. I mean, obviously, law school and certain relationship, not this one, um, and uh, and other relationships,
Yeah.
and um, and foot.
Vicky and this whatever her name was,
That
and
white Russian.
that in Europe that time, and this blah.
and and like football. Like I thought it was going to be like a professional football player, or at least a college football player, and I thought that I needed to do that. Like, and that was like, and now like I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I was just trying
What
to
a
be.
waste that would have been for you.
Of course, yes.
What a waste of
Well,
you and your then concussed brain, what it would be
I
now.
still got concussed. I didn't even get that far, and I got
Y-
concussed, and that was one of the signs that not for you. And like, and yeah, and ultimately, I took a Taoism class in college, and that's what helped me let go of that because I saw that I was trying to get this thing, and the universe was telling me, nope, nope, nope. Every knee surgery I had, every concussion I got, everything that went against me being successful. And ultimately, looking back, it's like, I wasn't even doing the things that it really takes to be successful at it. And so look at the themes of your life, look at the things that you've tried, um, and be honest with yourself. Was your heart really in it? Or was there a different reason you didn't succeed, or what? And see what does call to you. And like Jeff said too, take those baby steps towards whatever that is.
Yeah, and God, I'm sorry. I feel like I just have been so into this lately, but
Great.
I have two more things now. First thing is, it's also never too late. It's never, ever, ever too late. You're not, oh, I'm in my 50s now. It's too late. I just met a lady who was 50, I think she was 51 or something, and she had just started becoming a practicing lawyer. She went back to school just a couple years ago, and she loved it, and she was so happy. And I was like, why have I not gone back to school? Because I think I'm too old for it. This lady's living her dream as a lawyer, and she's like, I'm young, I'm 50. And I was like, huh, yeah, I'm even younger than that. Right? And the
Yep.
same thing even with you, Cassie, and you really, like, you're younger than me even. And I know it's a hard decision because you're like, I'm already 26 and I'm getting into this. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so interesting that ego voice, right? And that imposter syndrome that can kind of come up or again, comparison, just comparison all around. But even and I don't know, if this is a conversation for another time, but even in amongst finding your passion, for example, it's not just like, well, I found it and now I'm at peace all the time and it's perfect all the time. And I never get tripped up anymore. And I don't compare myself because
Yeah.
I know what I love and I'm fulfilled. Not quite. So it's yes, and I still get tripped up. I'm still, thinking that I'm lesser than, and um, it's stressful, right? I'm doing all of the jobs. The other day I had a moment, like a breakdown type of moment where I was, kind of upset with Bo and wanting more support from him. I needed more time in my, designated work hours. And I told him, I'm doing all of the things. I'm social media marketing. I'm the writer. I'm the organizer. I'm doing the emails. I'm calling people. I'm delivering cacao.
Yeah.
Holding space. This is all me. It's all me, and it's so much. And I needed to purge all of that so that I could pick myself back up and keep going. So again, you find your passion, and then you're still in this lifelong journey
Yeah.
of loving yourself, of returning to love, of healing.
Yeah. And then you see somebody who's like, oh, yeah, I do this business where everyone else does the work for me and I don't actually have to work and I make $10,000 a month. And I see that and I'm like, I'm living my passion. I'd like that, though. I want to be that imaginary thing where somebody just makes $10,000 a month and everything's automated. There's always still that moment of like, oh, my passion's somewhere I have to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
well, the kiddos wake up.
Yeah, they're waking.
All right. Do you want to close us out? I know Bo had something, but maybe you could close us out, and if he gets a chance to return, then he can share.
Sure, absolutely. Um, Well, so we can take a moment of gratitude, and we didn't touch in at the beginning of the show, so let's take this opportunity to do that together. Maybe close down your eyes if it's safe and or comfortable to do so within your own body, within your own space right now, wherever you are. And then take a deep breath. Fill up in the belly, the chest, feel your side ribs expand, and exhale, open mouth. It's an opportunity to let go and let be whatever is coming up for you here and now, whatever these words that we shared, sentiments that we shared, um, whatever has inspired, or maybe there's been a little dust kicked up, right, in these different shares. Maybe you feel a little bit more clear on things, maybe a little bit more uncertain. And wherever you are, that is okay. So we tend to hold a lot of tension in our shoulders, in our head, neck. Go ahead and loosen out your shoulders, perhaps shake them side to side. Loop your shoulders up, back, down, and around so that you can sit a little bit taller here. Heart led. Hey, honey. And take a moment to affirm yourself, to extend some love, light, and gratitude to your journey thus far. We affirm peace inside, peace outside, peace to the left, peace to the right, peace above, peace below, peace to the universe, and peace all around. Go ahead and open up your eyes, return back to your space, to your heart center, and out of your head. I hope you all have a beautiful week, and write to us. We'd love to hear your passions. We'd love to hear any questions that you have along the way, right? Are you seeking right now? Are you still trying to discern and figure out what's for you? What have you let go of in the process? Any no's, any yeses? We want to hear it all. We want to hear your honest and authentic journey and story, because it's important, because you are important.
That's beautiful. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, love you. Bye.